Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to another walk around video. Now in the last one I had something pretty special, an Audi RSQ3, but I think I might have outdone myself this time. That's because I have, wait for this, the Caterham Super 7 1600. Wow, just look at it. Now you may look at this and think, oh, that's a classic car, it's an old car. No, it isn't. Believe it or not, this is a brand new car. It's only covered about 4,500 miles and this has been mine for the weekend. Now sadly it is raining right now and the weather this weekend hasn't been fantastic, but I've still had plenty of fun in this car. Now I've had a few Caterhams, in fact this is my 7th, so this is my 7th 7, and normally I don't film walkarounds, but because this one is a bit more interesting, well, all of them are interesting, but this one is a bit more bespoke and unique, I thought, you know what, I really want to take you guys around the car. So the Super 7 1600, the ethos of the design is to hark back to the Caterham of the 70s. So for example, you have these lovely long flared wheel arches that pretty much cover half the length of the vehicle, actually probably more than half. And as you can see, it's got more of a classic vibe to it. Now, I know your typical Caterham isn't exactly high-tech and modern, but I'm sure you'll agree this one does look a bit more, well, a bit more classic in its approach. So at the front, you get a different grille. You get this kind of chrome mesh, well, yeah, a chrome mesh grid grille. And you don't get a painted 7 like you can do on other Caterhams. You get these lovely 14-inch alloy wheels, which look similar to mini lights. Now, as standard, these come as silver, but as an optional extra, these are finished in gold, as you can see, well, gold and silver. Now, speaking of optional extras, this car does have a few, and I think this is probably a good time to speak about the price, because this isn't exactly a cheap car, sadly. Let me sort out my camera work. This car starts from £33,495. So yes, it is not exactly what you'd call a value for money, but in regard to smiles for miles, then this car is off the scale. It really is. The car you see before you is a bit more though, because it has a few options, as I mentioned. Another thing, as part of the Super 7 specification, you get the spare wheel and carrier, which harks back to the older Caterhams of yesteryear. So again, that's very much a period piece. But yes, the car you see before you is about £39,500. So to go through options, so these particular alloys are optional. This has also got the uprated master brake cylinder. The weather protection is optional. Well, this car does come standard with weather protection, but this is the mohair one, so this is a bit more money. If I take you inside, now as you can see, it's quite a small, cramped interior, and I've had to put some of my filming stuff in here, but you have this lovely wooden Moto litre steering wheel. I think this is a £300 option, but it just really adds to the vibe of this vehicle. One thing I'm not so keen on, I'd love to get your thoughts, is the birch white leather interior. So it's called birch white, but I'd argue it's more of a cream. And yes, it does give the interior quite a high amount of elegance, but I just think I've never been a fan of cream or white leather. I just think it's asking to be stained. I don't know how well it works with the Tuscany red paintwork, but of course that's subjective. Let me know what you guys think. Now, I just come down here. I have to be very careful not to touch that exhaust because it will still be a bit hot from my driving earlier. Also, as part of the Super 7 1600 specification, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? You also get Smith styles as well to really give it that timeless classic look. At this point, you may want to start a drinking game for the amount of times I say classic, because I think I've already said it 3 times in quite a short space of time. But it's, yeah, it helped. These styles help to give this car a certain amount of vintage. There we go. It's a better word for classic, I suppose. And if I just get you in, I do apologise for my slightly awkward camera work. I'm having to lean inside the car whilst hunched over because with this car, because this car is the standard chassis, therefore you get a pedal box which is very tight, meaning I have to drive this barefoot. So whenever I get in the car, I have to take my trainers off like a fancy house. So I'm not going to get in it properly, because it means having to take my trainers off, and that's just a faff, to be honest. But it is a really nice interior and a really classy touch. If I bring you around here, hopefully you can see it. Hopefully it shows up on camera, but you can see Super 7 1600 embossed into the leather. That's a really nice touch. I think I'd want it to be a bit more noticeable though, because at quick glance you can't quite see it. I'm not too sure if it's just because of the colour of this particular leather, but just show you the inside from this angle. A very, very nice place to be. I love the chrome finishes as well. Again, it certainly makes it look like a sports car of a certain era. And back out into the rain. Now, like all Caterhams, you have the engine at the front, power fed to the rear, and the driver, well, I would say the driver sits in the middle, but if anything, you're pretty much sat on the rear axle. So you have this lovely long bonnet in front of you, and just check these out. So you've got K&N air intakes, and this car has got twin throttle bodies, and the noise it makes is, it is divine. It really, really is. This makes a noise to die for. So speaking of the engine department and performance, this features a 1.6 litre Ford Sigma engine, which you may have guessed, because 1600, that is a nod to the displacement of the engine, 1600cc. Although if I'm going to be pedantic, I think the actual cc of this car is 1596, but of course it's rounded up, but that's me being pedantic, and I may have got it wrong, so I will give Caterham the benefit of the doubt. Now, to get the bonnet off is a bit of a faff, but we'll cut to a clip where you can see the engine. In regard to performance, on paper this car doesn't look overly exciting, and there's a good reason for that. This Caterham is not about setting a new personal best at Goodwood Motor Circuit, which actually is just over there. Actually, I'm not too far from Goodwood Motor Circuit. This is more about cruising, enjoying your favourite B road on a nice sunny day. Obviously, I've got the B roads, but not the weather, sadly. So the engine matches that, and in fact this is kind of the entry-level Caterham, although in regard to price it isn't, but in regard to performance it is. So it has 135 brake horsepower with 160 newton meters of torque. That is fed to a 5-speed manual gearbox. As you can guess, there's no option for an automatic, but you can have a limited slip diff if you want to for better traction, but this car doesn't have that. In regard to 0 to 60, it's actually pretty decent. It will do it in 5 seconds flat, which given the fact it's only got 135 brake horsepower, I think that is very respectable. Now, a large part of that is the car's lightweight. So this weighs 565 kilograms. So this is a featherweight. This is about half the weight of my MX-5, my Mark 1, which is insane because you would never call a Mark 1 MX-5 heavy, but park it next to this and it looks like a heifer lump. The top speed, in case you're wondering, is 122 miles per hour, which is not exactly fast, but when you bear in mind how low you are in the car, that will feel pretty fast, to say the least. Now, speaking of low, as another option, which is great for me because I'm 6'2", this car actually has the lowered floors, meaning that the seats sit lower down in the car. So for someone like me, as I said a few moments ago, I'm 6'2", I can actually fit in with the roof up. Actually, I may cut to a clip where I demonstrate that. So even if you are a taller person, you can still fit in it, because you may look at this and think, Aaron, how on earth do you get in? Well, once you get the knack, it's actually not too difficult. It's all about momentum and trying to get in one fluid motion. In fact, let me demonstrate just for a laugh. Very high-tech doors. Got 2 poppers to fasten them. It hasn't got any kind of central locking or any locking, in fact. But to be fair, people that own this are likely to have a garage for it anyway, so it's not too much of an issue, right? Just slip my trainers off. Like I said, it's like getting into a fancy house. But let me spin you guys Actually, which angle should I do this? Let's do it kind of more point of view. Get rid of my strap. Right, so you go left leg in first, squat down, swing your bum in, then you're in, and then right leg in, and then down like that. And if I spin you guys around, you'll see that despite my tall frame, I've actually got a decent amount of, well, decent-ish amount of headroom. So I've got about an inch maybe spare, and I could slouch down a bit and have a bit more room. But the space in here, well, I was going to say the space in here is generous. No, that would be stupid. What I mean is, I think that there's more space in here than you may think when you first look at the car. Now, of course, when you have a passenger in here, you will find it to be snug, to say the least. But once you're in, you know, I had my wife in this car, and you know, she's pregnant at the moment, and although it was a bit of a faff for her to get in, once she was in, she was actually quite comfortable. And before you say, oh, why are you taking a pregnant woman in a Caterham? That doesn't seem very responsible. Well, my wife loves cars, and she really wanted to go in this. I did say to her, well, is that a good idea? But yes, she wouldn't take no for an answer, especially as she's also recovering from an operation as well. But anyway, I digress. Let's actually show you a bit more of the dials and the switches. So it's very simplistic in here. So I love the fact that the hazard switch is the furthest one away from the driver, and also the fuel gauge is so far away from the driver. It's almost as if Caterham thought, well, you know what, you won't care about the fuel. It's just all you care about is the revs and the speed, which to some degree is correct. You've also got heated front windscreen. Yes, this car has a heated front windscreen. You also have a fan, well, a heater. So if you'll see you've got two vents down there. Let's turn them off. You've got temperature and oil pressure, screen wash, and wipers, of course. They are a little bit puny, but they are kind of cute at the same time. Right, let's turn that off. And of course, dials. Now, this car doesn't have power steering, nor does it have ABS or traction control. So the only driver aid this vehicle has is whoever is sitting in this very seat here. So yes, this car is, I wouldn't say it's hard work, because it can be, but it's good fun. But you do have to have your wits about you somewhat. This car won't flatter you or save you. If you make a mistake, then you're kind of on your own. But to be fair, even though the tyres are quite skinny, I believe they are 185s, this car is grippy. Now, of course, when it's wet, not so much, but this car is more grippy than you may expect. But yes, this hasn't got any driver aids. Just to go back over to the switches, so that's your start button. Those are your indicators. They don't self-cancel, so they make that really annoying bleeping noise. Got your lights here, so side lights, dipped beam, and then which one is it? That one for your high beam, and then that one if you want to flash. And then that button there, that is your horn. There we go, that works. As I said earlier, 5-speed manual gearbox. It is a lovely gear train. It's really short, snappy, and it's closely gated as well. It's a real joy to use. It really, really is. And there we go, guys. A little show around the Caterham Super 7 1600. Like I said, I don't normally do a walk around with a Caterham, but I thought, you know what, on this occasion, I really want to, because it's extra content I can give to you guys, and also it's such a fine looking automobile that I thought I have to share it with you guys. One last thing before I sign off, one thing I forgot to speak about, there's also a 12-volt socket in here. There's no glove box or any kind of storage. That is your boot. Just realised I haven't shown you the boot. Bit difficult to access when the roof is up. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say. I was hoping the rain would have died down by now, because I can film my other pieces of content, but sadly not. That's just one of those things. But yeah, I do really hope you have enjoyed that video, guys. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and also don't forget to check out my merch as well. There will of course be a full review coming with this vehicle, as well as a point of view drive as well. So if you aren't subscribed, then please do so you can check out that content, and make sure you click the bell so you don't miss out on any content. But apart from that, until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.